Hi, my name is Katarina Sullivan and I would like to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Before anyone says anything, yes, I know my name is Kat, and yes, I realize I'm wearing a top with cats on it. It's happening, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Just before I started recording this video, I was in the fetal position in a corner of my house, rocking myself back and forward and whispering to myself, it's going to be okay, because I was dreading the fact that I'm going to have to talk about how to fill out a Senate voting paper. But by the end of this video, I'm going to breathe a huge sigh of relief because it's over, and you're going to breathe a huge, huge, huge sigh of relief because you will know exactly how to fill out this monstrosity of a voting paper come election day, May 18th, 2019. There have been changes to the Senate voting paper. If you remember last election in 2016, the Senate voting paper structure was actually changed. What I'm going to do is break the Senate videos into 3 parts. So we're going to have the first part being how to fill out the Senate voting paper. The second part, how the Senate votes are counted. And the third part is what the changes were last election, and how they actually affect this election, because if you remember last election, the whole Senate was dismissed. So all 76 senators were dismissed through what's called a double dissolution, and we had to vote in 76 new senators or elect people back if we wanted them back. This year is only a half Senate election, which is normal. The double dissolution is abnormal. So the half Senate election means that we're voting in 6 senators from each state. So 6 states, 6 senators, 6 sixes are 36, maths, ayo. And then we're also voting in 2 senators from each territory. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 1, that's 3, quick maths. Any Big Shaq fans out there? Can I get a what? Anyway, so 2 from each territory. We've got 4 senators from the territories plus the 36. So we're actually voting in 40 senators at this election federally. What all of this means is the changes that were made last election to the voting reform probably didn't have as much of an impact as they're going to have this election. And we're going to cover that in a later video because there's just so much confusion around the Senate voting paper and how it all works. Get ready to get your pen and pencil out, and we're gonna do some maths. Probably more so next video. This video, we're just going to work out how to fill out the dang thing. As we did with the video for the lower house, I have done up a fictitious ballot paper for the Senate. Something to note, this ballot paper is smaller than any ballot paper across the country. At all. This tiny little ballot paper would be a dream to have. Like, people would fantasize about having to fill out one of these. At the upcoming election, every single ballot paper for the Senate will be bigger than the one I'm about to show you. For territories, it won't be much bigger. So Northern Territory and ACT, you can sort of sweat less than the states. But especially New South Wales and Victoria, holy moly. Those Senate ballot papers are massive, and there's way more candidate names, way more party names, way more boxes to have to fill in. Well, not have to fill in, but we'll cover that in a sec. It's a lot more confusing. I'm hoping that with this really simplified version, we can sort of go through the basics, and once you get the big, long 6 by 12 meter ballot paper, you'll be able to just zen and apply the principles that you have learned in this video to something that's a little bit more insane. I just want to run through now for each state and territory how many groups you can expect to see on your ballot paper this year. In the ACT, you will see 7 groups with 3 ungrouped candidates, a total of 17 candidates. New South Wales, you will see 35 groups, 14 ungrouped candidates with a total of 105 candidates. The Northern Territory, you will see 9 groups, no ungrouped candidates with a total of 18 candidates. Queensland, you will see 26 groups, 10 ungrouped candidates with a total of 83 candidates. South Australia, you will see 16 groups, 3 ungrouped candidates with a total of 42 candidates. Tasmania, you will see 16 groups, 4 ungrouped candidates with a total of 44 candidates. Victoria, you will see 31 groups, 4 ungrouped candidates and 82 total candidates. And lucky last, the state in which I was born and moved a long way away from, Western Australia, with 23 groups, 5 ungrouped candidates and 67 total candidates. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up that Senate voting paper right now. So as you can see, there are 2 options of how to vote. And this is for a state election. At the top, it has state election of 6 senators. So if you're in a state, your whole state will elect 6 senators. And if you're in a territory, your whole territory will elect 2 senators. Anyway, so you can see here that you have the option to vote either above the line or below the line. And we're going to talk about why this change was introduced in a later video, but let's just focus on the above the line part first. So above the line, you'll see that there are, in this instance, 7 different groups. All you need to do is number at least 6 of the boxes. So you can number all 7. At this upcoming election, I know that New South Wales and Victoria have over 30 above the line boxes. So I wouldn't recommend numbering all of them unless you've got nothing better to do with your life. And I wouldn't even recommend numbering all of them anyway, because then your preferences will be used and you might end up putting a preference for a party that you don't even want in and then they win. So I would recommend just with doing the bare minimum, 6, or you can do 7 or 8 if you want. I wouldn't number all 30 odd boxes. You might get a hand cramp. We can see in this example with the wonderful fruit and vegetable that I was speaking about last time, and we found out a lot of my thoughts on fruits and vegetables. We can see here that above the line they're divided into parties, and this is called group ticketing. Each A, B, C, D, E, F, G that you see up there, that represents what we call a group. If you vote above the line, you're voting for that group, and that group may have preferences that you're not 100% aware of. I would personally recommend below the line voting for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can control your preferences a lot more closely. Secondly, especially if you're voting for one of the bigger parties that have more candidates up for nomination, you can get to 12 by voting for less parties than you would for above the line voting. The reason for this is, for the states, not so much the territories, of course, because you can only have 2 senators elected, so there'll only be 2 candidates. But for the states, you'll usually have 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 candidates per major party. So you can actually get down your numbers by voting in less parties. So on this example, if I'm filling out below the line, which we're going to go through first, and then we'll do the above the line option second. If I'm going to fill out below the line, I'm going to go ahead and just number 1, 2, and 3 down next to grapefruit, mandarin, and lime. So they're my first 3 preferences. My stone fruit party was actually my second preference in the lower house. And then I could go 4, 5, 6 down the stone fruit party. This is already 6 options completed, because for below the line voting, you need to fill out at least 12 boxes. So above the line is at least 6, below the line is at least 12. And you can see I've only voted for 2 parties so far, and I've already gotten halfway there. Whereas if I was doing above the line voting, I would have to put down 1 for citrus and 2 for stone fruit, and I'm only a third of the way there. I recommend voting below the line if you feel comfortable in doing so. You don't have to do it, especially if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the process, that 6 boxes kind of seem easier, but trust me, your vote counts a lot more if you can do below the line voting because your preferences are in your control, and you don't have to put down 5th and 6th preferences for parties that you might not actually particularly want to be voted in. So already I've got, for my below the line, I've got 6 preferences down, and I need another 6. So I honestly quite closely mirror what I do in the upper and lower house, because I usually am really interested in the party and would like that party to get in. In my last example, I voted Melon Party as my 3rd preference for the lower house ballot paper, so I'm actually going to move to them next for my preferences. So next to Rock Melon and Honeydew, I'm going to go ahead and put a 7 and an 8. Now I have 4 boxes left to fill out. The next party I voted for was the Roots Party. So the candidates on this ballot paper, I've got yam and turnip, and so I can go ahead and put 9 and 10 in there. Now you'll notice to the right of the Roots Party that there is a section that says ungrouped, and we've got here tomato and avocado. Bernard Sold will be really proud of me because I am a millennial that doesn't like avocado on toast. I don't like avocado. What? Yeah, it's crazy. Weird thing is, I really like guacamole. I don't like the texture of just eating avocado, but guacamole I can deal with. I wouldn't go out of my way to eat it. Let's put it that way. As the ungrouped candidate, they actually run independently. So they're not aligned to a political party, they're an independent. They're standing for the Senate, for my state or territory. I'm going to go ahead and put a number 11 next to avocado. So far I've got Citrus Party 1, 2, 3, Stone Fruit Party 4, 5, 6, Melon Party 7, 8, Roots Party 9, 10, avocado in the ungrouped section 11, which means that I have 1 more box that I gotta fill out. I don't know why I said it like that. Now I get to the berry party section, and they're going to be where my next preference goes. However, I actually don't like kiwi fruit, even though I am a Kiwi, like a New Zealand citizen, as well as an Australian citizen. I can't be Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Fun fact. So I'm going to go ahead and put my number 12 vote next to passion fruit. Now the chances of passion fruit getting up ahead of kiwi fruit, very, very slim, but it's sort of just a principle thing for me at this point. And with that, I have completed filling out the minimum that I need to do for the Senate voting paper. As I spoke about last video, I hate vegetables, especially leafy greens. They are the worst. And if you look at the Senate ticket here, we've got spinach and silver beet. Look, there's this Croatian, like I'm going through all of my heritage this video. There's a Croatian dish with spinach and potato that is absolutely to die for, but silver beet is just bleh. I didn't want the leafy green party in at all whatsoever because they're the biggest rival to the citrus party. Last video, I put a number 9 in the box next to them because I wanted them to be absolutely last. But with the Senate voting paper, I don't put anything in the box next to them because I don't want my preferences to ever get to them at any stage. My Senate ballot paper, once it goes through all 12 preferences, it will never get put to the leafy greens party, which is so important to me because silver beet is the worst, people. So for parties that you really, really don't align with them at all, if you can avoid it, don't put anything in the box next to them. Make sure you fill out from 1 to 12 for below the line, and of course 1 to 6 for above the line, but as much as you can for the parties you don't want, don't put anything in their boxes. Is that a euphemism? I will finish how to fill out the above the line voting. It's pretty straightforward. If you can understand below the line voting, you can understand above the line voting. In the example we use, citrus party of course would be number 1, stone fruit would be number 2, and then I would move on to melon, number 3. From there, I would probably go roots, number 4, berry, number 5. And like I said just before, I don't want anything near the leafy greens at all, so I'm going to put 6 next to marrow. And what you'll see if I actually have both above the line and below the line up at the same time is that I've had to now go through and put the Marrow Party down in my above the line voting, but I didn't have to do that when I did below the line voting because I was actually able to get to 12 boxes filled faster than I was with getting to 6 boxes in above the line voting. I hope this is making sense. That's basically done. All you need to remember is you fill out above the line or below the line. Don't fill out both. Just don't do it. Once you've done that, you fold your ballot paper 6 trillion times because it's going to be like 10 meters long. And once we've finished folding and getting it small enough that you can actually fit it into the ballot box, the sealed box, you drop it in there. And you will see that there's 2 boxes. There's one that says Senate ballot papers, white papers here, and another that says House of Representatives or lower house. Pretty sure it says House of Representatives, ballot paper, green paper here. The small paper is the lower house and the big, huge, never-ending roll of paper, that's the upper house. So I've covered this a couple of times before. I'm going to cover it again because it's a point I really want to drive home. If you're having problems and if you're having difficulties and you're confused and you don't know what's happening and you just want to cry because we're destroying the planet with these massive Senate ballot papers and you don't even know how to fill them out, just call and ask for help. Of course, the officers won't be able to tell you which boxes to put numbers in, but they will be able to tell you how to do it. And if everything gets really, really bad, you can totally just bring up this YouTube video on election day and go through and be like, what did Kat say? What did Kat say? Of course, don't vote for any of the parties that I have on this example ballot paper because they don't exist. Otherwise, you can get how to vote cards from the volunteers outside, like I said last time. If you feel like the volunteers have put pressure on you to take them, let an official know. But if you actually want to fill out the ballot paper according to a how to vote card, take one. The only issue is I don't know how many how to vote cards will have below the line voting as well. So what you can do, of course, is take the how to vote card. For example, if the Citrus Party gives me a how to vote card and it tells me how to vote above the line with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can actually then go, all right, so 1 for Citrus Party, obviously, and then fill out the below the line accordingly. So I take the first recommendation in the above the line and then fill out the candidates below the line for that same group. And then I move to the next group. So for example, if they put the Stone Fruit Party as 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, no, 4, 5, 6. You sort of get what I mean here. Next video, we're going to talk about how the votes are counted, and that's going to go into why preferences are so important in the Senate, and we covered that last time for the lower house as well. Preferences are the be-all and end-all of elections. There is literally a senator in Parliament right now who has been elected in the last election, 2016, to Parliament with 19 votes. Not 19%, 19 first preference votes. And the reason he got in is because of other preferences and the other people were made ineligible to actually sit for Parliament, which is a whole nother little drama that you might have heard about dual citizenship. And when I'm talking about 19 votes, I'm talking about 19 votes for a state that had an enrollment of 3 million people. So 19 votes out of 3 million. It's insane. So that's why we're going to cover why preferences are so important and talk about things like Senate quotas, and we're going to get out our calculators, and we might even call a professor from the Australian National University to explain the maths of all of this. That's a joke. I don't have the budget for that. And I did study maths at university. Maybe I could use some of that. Please, please, please give this video a thumbs up if you learned something. Please subscribe to the channel, share the video with family and friends, follow me on social media. All the links are below. And I will see you next time for our maths lesson, aka how the Senate votes are counted. Peace.